Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Dental Trade Alliance podcast, brought to you by the Dental Trade Alliance. My name is Kevin Henry. I'm not only honored to be the host of this podcast, but also honored to be the editor-in-chief for drbicuspid.com. And we're going to talk today about DTA membership and the ways that DTA members can get the most out of that. And who better to ask these questions to than Michelle Turgovnik and Bill Sundheimer, both with the Dental Trade Alliance. How are you both today?
Doing great, thanks.
Doing great.
Hey, glad you're both here, and I'm looking forward to this chat because, one thing that I know is that there's a lot that goes on with DTA members and a lot of things that are available to them. So, Michelle, if it's all right, I'm gonna kick today's conversation off with you. Are you ready for me to put you on the spot?
Sure.
All right. So what's one of the biggest ways that you see DTA members can better take advantage of their membership right?
I think that staying informed with DTA alerts, looking at the webinars, I think that that's a great way to really get the most out of their membership.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree totally with that. And I think the other area that's really helpful too to get the most out of the membership is involvement. DTA is a very member-driven organization. And, we're looking for input from our members on the needs that they face and to try and find ways to satisfy those needs. So I would say that being involved in the organization, getting involved in some of the committees, staying plugged into the networking and the flow of communication, as Michelle said, are really, the most important things that they could focus on in their membership.
So, Bill, while I've got you on the hot seat, I'm just going to ask you another question then. What do you think is one of the most overlooked things whenever it comes to DTA membership?
Well, that's a good question, Kevin. A lot of times we find members getting kind of tunnel vision of sorts with what DTA means to them, that many times they kind of just focus in on the annual meeting. I've got to be involved with the DTA because I want to go to the annual meeting, or it's so that I can get good regulatory insights or something like that. And so they kind of tunnel in on that one little area, but DTA has so much more to offer. And I think that, one of the things that more members could and should be doing is to reach out to us and request a membership check-in. And that's something that Michelle and I do when we get requests from members, and also when we're contacting them just to do check-ins on our own, is to, find out how things are going, what's working, what's not, what benefits may they be overlooking that could have real value for them.
Great. And I've got to ask, so Michelle, what's been maybe one of the biggest surprises that you found with these membership check-ins? I mean, it sounds like a great opportunity. Is there anything that you've heard that's really kind of surprised you that a member has asked or maybe didn't know about?
So I think that members aren't aware of the huge advocacy that we have, as well as setting up meetings, on the Hill and really representing the entire industry, where it might be some companies have particular niches that they're interested, but DTA could go out there and really represent the entire industry. So it's a lot of information behind the scenes that we could help with. And from the regulatory side, from being a trusted advisor, I think that that's really some of the things that I've been surprised at. And of course, the networking, while sometimes people just say, oh, we're just going to a networking event. Well, that's a great way to maintain relationships for people who've been here for a long time, but also build relationships. So I think that that's also a good thing to highlight.
So, Bill, a question for you. How do you see maybe some of the more, shall we say, experienced members of the Dental Trade Alliance using their membership versus some of the newer ones? And is there a difference that you see in maybe some of the generations as well? I'm curious.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the long-term members tend to be more deeply involved in more different areas, and they get more of their organization involved in DTA. So often what we see with newer members is it's one or two people that discovered DTA and got interested in it, and they sign up for their organization, but they sort of want to act like the gatekeeper for the information going into the organization. And, what I've found is that a lot of times they get overwhelmed by that role. And so sometimes they don't always let the information through and direct it to where it needs to go within their organization. What DTA prefers to do, and what we see many of our long-term members doing, is to have an extensive list of employees from that company, that member company, in our database so that we can send that information out to them automatically. And so everybody is getting it, from the regulatory department to the quality assurance, to the executive suite, to the marketing and sales folks, to R&D, that we're covering and touching all of those different parts of our member organizations.
You know, the annual meeting was mentioned earlier, and obviously that's one of the highlights of the whole year when it comes for the Dental Trade Alliance. Michelle, are there any tips that you would share with members about getting the most out of the membership if you're going to be at the annual meeting?
It's meet people. It's, again, like I said before, build those, the relationships you have established, make sure that you maintain them, talk to, people in the industry. What's so great about the annual event is that there are a lot of people at the table. There are companies of all sizes. There are competitors there. There's manufacturers, distributors, service organizations, all working together for the better of the dental industry, to grow the dental industry. And everybody having that mindset is just, it's enlightening that people could really work together towards a common goal in that environment.
And I'd add to that too, that the educational content of that meeting is just outstanding. Before I joined DTA, I was with Burkhart Dental, and it was really the meeting that I looked for most each year, because we could go there and experience and listen to all these presenters that dealt not just with the state of our market and the state of the economy in general, but also talk about disruptive innovation, talk about creative communications, talk about leadership and team management techniques. And so I always felt like I came away from that meeting with just a treasure trove of new ideas and insights that I could then take back and apply. And I think that our members really appreciate that. And I know that the DTA focuses very heavily on getting really high quality speakers that are not only entertaining, but really deeply informative and providing valuable insights.
And I would add to that, it's getting ahead of the trends, right? It's very easy to look backwards, right? But to look forwards is a lot more difficult. So to get those industry leaders to come to the table to identify market trends, like talking about medical dental integration, talking about things that are important to the dental industry, whether it's coding or anything like that. Those are the things that we're going to bring up at those meetings, whether it's with peers or economists, people that actually can help identify the trends that may not be as readily seen.
Yeah, I really look at the DTA's role for its members as being kind of that reconnaissance person that looks over the hill to see what's on the other side, so that we can then tell the folks that are getting ready to come over the crest of that hill what to expect and how to prepare for it. And so I think DTA does a great job of that. And the annual meeting is a great sort of coming together to be able to make that all happen.
So I'm curious, because both of you, I know, are also talk to prospective members as well, those who are not yet members of the Dental Trade Alliance. Bill, I'm going to start with you. What's the one thing that you really emphasize to a prospective member about why they should be a member of the DTA?
Sure. Really good question. They, I think the biggest thing is just making sure that they're in the loop, that they're getting out ahead of it, a little bit like what I just said, the looking over the hill, that they are going to have those insights and be able to use that to identify new opportunities or to mitigate risks in their business plans. And so we can help provide those insights, and we bring the information to them. We don't just put them in a position where they've got to go out and discover it for themselves. And so it allows them to focus on the areas of their business and business performance, while also having the benefit of the insight of what we can bring to them in terms of what is happening both down the line and in today's market with regulations, with healthcare policy and oral care policy, as Michelle mentioned, with medical dental integration and what's happening there. There's just a whole raft of different areas and topics that affect our industry that DTA is monitoring and keeping its members informed about.
And just to add to that, from a prospecting list, really it's bringing, and again, I'm really just reiterating what Bill said, is relevant information simply to an organization. We know that there's a lot of data points out there there's a lot of information and communication, whether it's coming from the federal government or through the industry. And what the DTA tries to do is really consolidate, synthesize that information and make it easily digestible, which really helps new members or members alike.
You know, I remember whenever I first came into the industry way long ago, my hair was a different color back then, that, you know, I was told that DTA was one of the best kept secrets in the dental industry, and that the goal was to not make it a secret anymore, to make sure that people knew really what DTA did every day for its members and for the dental industry as a whole. And I think that that's something, the more that I get involved with DTA and the longer that I'm in the industry, the more I realize just how much DTA does behind the scenes to really help the dental industry grow.
Yeah, and I think it's changed a lot over the years. I mean, you know, I think there was a period of time many years ago where DTA had the rap of being kind of an old boys club for a small group of large companies. And that has changed a lot over the years. I mean, it really makes a big difference now. We've got new thinking with Greg Chavez coming in a few years ago and bringing in some new ideas and new initiatives and new programs. And I think that's really been a powerful sort of game changer for DTA, that it's, I guess I like to kid every once in a while, it's not your father's DTA anymore.
It's really, and we joke about this internally, so that's why I'm saying here's a different look. But, you know, I've been in the dental industry for, you know, almost 18 and a half years prior to coming here. And it's membership that matters, right? It is something that's going to bring an ROI back to you. It's not just about networking and meeting people that you've already known, right? It's about understanding the business and growing the business. And everybody has their eye on that, right? So whether you're a manufacturer, distributor, a service provider, a startup, someone who's been in the industry for a long time, everybody could benefit from being a member. So yeah, it's not your father's business, you know, DTA anymore.
Well, I know I'm excited to see you both at the Dental Trade Alliance annual meeting that's coming up in Napa, California in November. It's going to be a lot of fun. And also, I want to thank you both for what you do for the DTA to not only keep its current members engaged and knowing what's going on, but also, again, to bring in those new members as well to help grow the pie and help our dental industry grow as well. So thank you both for your time today. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you,
Kevin.
And we're going to have both the contact information for Michelle and Bill in the show notes, so it'll be easy for you to reach out to them if you have any questions about your DTA membership or becoming a member of the Dental Trade Alliance as well. It'll be real easy for you to reach out to either one of them. Until next time, it's Kevin Henry, the host of the Dental Trade Alliance podcast, signing off, and as always, wishing you nothing but success ahead.